you. I don't want people to think I'm not paying attention. Hi, I'm paying attention to her.
We were live. She always pays attention. She did that on purpose, people. Now, we actually have a couple minutes before the radio show starts. So before I do any formal introduction, so down here, that's Dr. Rita Louise. And over here, Mama D. I'm Gina B. And you're in the Fox Den. Opposite row. but tonight's show.
Oh, got it. You're over there. You're in my closet.
Yeah, you're in my closet. Hey.
And I'm in hell.
I was just gonna say that.
We got her locked up in the basement. We just let her take the gag out for a little while. Oh my goodness.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting show.
Yeah, it is.
It's never, I can tell you, it's never boring. There's not a moment to let me,
No, but if for you guys that are watching on Facebook, we are also live streaming on YouTube, and we are trying to build our YouTube audience. So please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. There it is, way down there. Okay, so please go there and subscribe to that channel, The Fox Den, hosted by Gina Bankston, Bengtson. That'd be me. All right. I'll put that back up in a little bit. We got a comment coming on. Hi, Ronnie. Hey, Chris George is here. Chris says hi.
Hey.
There he is.
Hey, you handsome beast.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everybody. I am Gina B, and the place to be is here with me and Mama D and Dr. Rita Louise. And tonight we are talking about narcissists and empaths and the relationship and the dysfunctional dance between the two. That will be her book that we're going to be talking about. But first of all, if you don't know Dr. Rita, I will play a little video. And this kind of goes into a bunch of things that she does. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Fox Den, Dr. Rita Louise. She is the founder of the Institute of Applied Energetics and the host of Just Energy Radio. She is a naturopathic physician and a 20-year veteran in the human potential field. Her unique gift as a medical intuitive and clairvoyant illuminates and enlivens her work. She is the author of the books Stepping Out of Eden, E.T. Chronicles, What Myth and Legends Have to Say About Human Origin, Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4, Dark Angels, An Insider's Guide to Ghosts, Spirits, and Attached Entities, and The Power Within. She has produced a number of feature-length videos as well as video shorts. Their titles include Icon, Deconstructing the Archetypes of the Ancients, Holy Deception, Ancient Aliens, Genetic Engineering, and the Rise of Civilization, The Truth About the Nephilim Giants, Deceit, Lies, and Deception, The Reptilian Agenda, Paranormal Phenomena, Attached Entities, The Bad Kids of the Spirit World, Ghosts, Gods, Myth, The Secret to the Law of Attraction and Reincarnation, Have We Been Here Before? See all of these on her website. Dr. Rita Louise has appeared on radio, television, and in movies, and she has lectured on health and healing, ghosts, intuition, ancient mysteries, and the paranormal. Her books and articles have worldwide circulation. Tonight, we are going to be talking about her book, The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and the Narcissist. It takes an in-depth look at the dynamics between the loving and compassionate and often selfless empaths and those willing to take from them, a self-serving narcissist, and the endeavors to uncover the unconscious patterns that keep them trapped in cycles of abusive and toxic relationships. A survivor of childhood abuse herself, Dr. Rita Louise has emerged as a gifted empath and a talented clairvoyant medical intuitive. You can reach her at soulhealer.com, medical-intuitives.com, appliedenergeticsinstitute.com / and you can email her at rita@soulhealer.com. Well, see, I told you she does a lot. so that
And I can't keep track.
I know. And that all being said, I want to kind of start the show off on, because I did list all the books and all of the video shorts and, well, the full lengths and the shorts. So what I want to do is please tell me about these books, just a brief description. Stepping Out of Eden is about.
Okay. So actually, I'm going to do a little combining here.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with E.T. Chronicles. So E.T. Chronicles looks at the history of life on Earth, starting with in the beginning and ending right around the Noah flood narrative. And it combines myths from around the world, which actually do create a cogent narrative and presents that to the reader. And so it identifies who we are and where we came from the mythic record. Kind of tied to that is the Stepping Out of Eden book. So while E.T. Chronicles looks at this base narrative that's a global narrative, Stepping Out of Eden looks at why are we human? What's happened to us that changed us from being animals into being humans as we know it? You know, people talk about archaeology and bones and, you know, this and that, but they don't really talk about culture. And they don't talk about how culture developed and expanded over the years and what was important to people in antiquity versus, well, I mean, we know what's going on now. And so they really do kind of go hand in hand, where one is more the global narrative and then a subset, because I didn't really cover in depth the development of humanity. The Stepping Out of Eden book comes in and fills in that giant blank. Dark Angels, an insider's guide to ghost spirits and attached entities, talks about different kinds of ghosts. It gets into things like portals and ley lines. There's an entire chapter on attached entities and how they interact with people, as well as providing the reader with some guidance if they think they have a spirit in their house, what they can do about it.
Awesome.
And then again, the last two books, Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4 and The Power Within, kind of go hand in hand. So Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4 looks at why we get sick from a very, I'm going to say, esoteric, metaphysical perspective. So if the word aura and chakras and subtle energy are familiar to you, then this book would make a lot of sense. You know, because when we get sick, when something happens to us, it is the universe's way of trying to get our attention. And it really is the ultimate 2x4 that we can use to regain health. And my hope is that individuals who recognize that illness is the end of the line, by starting to pay attention to our thoughts and emotions, you can actually help avoid getting sick, thus avoid the cosmic 2x4. So I like to say that Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4 is kind of a brain food book. You know, it explains the process and the system by which our energy works. Where The Power Within it's a very practical book. It's a very hands-on book that teaches the reader how to work with their energy, how to create a grounding cord, how to clear their aura out, how to use those tools on other people. And so it's a definitely hands-on book, where the Avoiding the Cosmic 2x4 is more the science behind it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love it.
Making my shopping list as we speak.
I'm telling you, she's just brilliant. And then we have all of these, the videos.
Okay, I'm just going, what do we got here? Okay, so I'm going to talk about two first. The first one I'm going to talk about is Icon, Deconstructing the Archetypes of the Ancients. And so one of the things that I used as a guide in developing the E.T. Chronicles book and the Stepping Out of Eden book was the concept of iconography. You know, things look the way we recognize things based on symbolism. So, for example, if someone put up an image of Da Vinci's Last Supper, everyone would mostly recognize what that picture is and what the imagery represents. And so we find that in art around the world. And based on finding parallel mythic narratives, I went looking for graphic parallels. And since it's really hard to present that information in a book, it presents it in a video format. So it kind of goes along with those books, kind of a nice little primer, so to speak.
And it's beautifully done too. Just saying.
Thank you.
Like, unreal. So if you have not seen these videos, you really, really ought to go to Amazon, all right, and just you have to watch them. All right, I don't want to interrupt you. Keep going.
Well, I'm going to tell a quick story. You know, I was editing the Icon movie, and I was testing the DVD to make sure that if I put it onto a 60-inch TV, that the resolution would be good. And somehow I was doing something in the kitchen, had turned it off, was doing a bunch of stuff, and then it turned back on. And I'm like, wow, that sounds really interesting.
Yep.
But it was me. So Holy Deception, it's not a religious movie. So the deception is, there's what we've been taught in the Judeo-Christian tradition, which doesn't fit the mythic narrative that you find anywhere else around the world. And so it does just kind of a general look at what indigenous people say about the gods and who those gods are, to give you an introduction to what is believed outside of the Western world. And so those two films are actually full-length films. They're a little over an hour each. Let's see, Gobekli Tepe. Okay, I've got a lot of criticism on this. So Gobekli Tepe is a short, and so the shorts last about 15 minutes. And it looks at Gobekli Tepe, which is a site in Turkey that was discovered in 2016, something. It's fairly recent. That has these megaliths that, if you think of Stonehenge, they're not as massive, but there's a lot of them, and they're about 14 feet tall. And they estimate that the area where this site is about 16 acres with these stone circles that are all carved. And but for some reason, about 8,000 BC, the site was buried, intentionally buried, and they know that for a fact because they're, as they're digging through, they see garbage and stone flakes and refuge that filled it in. And so, without giving it all away, I talk about what the ancients were thinking and why they may have decided to bury this site. It has been probably one of the more controversial videos that I've put out because it doesn't fall in the mainstream narrative. But in my personal opinion, it's the answer that actually makes sense. If you go back 10,000 years and into their minds, 8,000 BC, why they would bury 16 acres worth of structures that are 14 feet tall. Right. That's a lot of dirt.
That is. That is. Oh my God. I don't even.
I'm sorry. Saving it for future generations doesn't work for me. Deceit, Lies, Reptilian Agenda. It was a little offshoot commentary that I chose not to put in the E.T. Chronicles book. One of the things that you find in myth is, well, I'm going to back up. So there are people that talk about, a group of reptilians that live in underground bases and they're controlling the government. And, there's this whole conspiracy theory. David Icke was a big proponent of it. And when I was doing this research, one of the things that I discovered was that there was a group that could be identified as reptilians in mythology that did live beneath the water or deep in the earth. And so this kind of looks at that narrative, the conspiracy theory, the mythological evidence tied to it, and presents an opinion. Attached entities, looks at just the phenomena of entity attachment, people that might be more affected by entities, why they attach to you, how it feels to have an entity attached to you, just kind of as an overview. Okay, let's see. In the Name of God looks at, it kind of is an offshoot of the Stepping Out of Eden book, looking at in a very kind of cursory way what it was that happened in antiquity that caused us to start down that path to humanity. So actually, I produced that before I actually wrote the Stepping Out of Eden book, because I was just fascinated by that whole concept, and that kind of drove on writing that book. Weapons of the Gods. Well, I'm getting tired already. Weapons of the Gods
And breathe.
looks at the, when we think of God, we think, God's omnipotent. He can just like poof, wave things into existence, which is not what you find in antiquity. And so it looks at, again, from this iconography parallel idea, the weapons that the gods employed to smote each other. I love that word, smote.
Smoke.
Where do they smoke?
Like the smoke.
So that's everything. And everything's available on Amazon.com or my website, soulhealer.com.
Okay. All right. So now, hearing all of that, seeing all of that, this book that we're talking about tonight is so far out of the realm of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Totally and completely. All right. The Dysfunctional Dance of the Empath and the Narcissist. Okay. So, start at the beginning. Why did you choose to write this? I know it's very personal, but why did you choose to put it out there?
So, and I'll just tell the story. So a couple of years ago, I was ending a relationship with a person who was dysfunctional. I'll just say it that way. And and when the relationship ended, and there's kind of a whole story that goes with it, what I realized was that he was toxic, and it wasn't just that he was toxic. It was that I had experienced a number of very toxic relationships in my life, whether they were people that I thought were my friends or people that I got involved with and then ultimately married. And I never saw the pattern. And the pattern just was like, boom, right there in my face, and I kind of question myself or whatever, look at myself and go, as intuitive as you are and as, soul searching as you are, why didn't you ever see it?
Right.
Why is it just this new revelation? And it really took me down to my core. I mean, it blindsided me, and it put me into a healing crisis. And as you know, I like researching, and so I wanted answers to what was going on. And
so in the typical Rita style of the research, now we're going to go way back from the beginning of it, you know what I mean? Well, through her life, you know what I mean? But the cycles of what people go through from childhood to the parents, to the empath, to the narcissist, the combination, the disruption, the breakup, the aftermath. I mean, it goes through everything. So in her style, and everything is in there. Okay? Compact too. Not that you would think it would be a novel, and it's really not. But everything is in there, and it's amazing. All right, I just had to say that.
Okay. And I, in the book, I tell my story, but I tell my story so that the reader can understand where I'm coming from and what my part is in it. It's not written. I'm not a therapist, even though I do a lot of counseling work with people. And, so, but I need to tell people that it's not a memoir, so I don't spend the entire book telling my story, but as I was doing research for myself, I was like, Well, it wasn't me. Spirit said, "Oh, you need to write a book." And I said, "Okay." And and so that's how it works for
Won't
me.
mess with them.
And, so I just, as I was digging and doing the research, I was also learning and growing and changing. And so it's kind of like the reader is going on this journey of discovery with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because even though you touch all the subjects of, say, childhood, all the attachment phases, all the phases that you can go through that comes out to this point, which makes a narcissist or makes an empath. It's like at least 1, 2, or 3 of those things, someone is going to say, aha, that's me,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I was nodding and I was going, yep,
Yep.
through it. So it's amazing.
Well, I mean, as I was doing some of that research, I would read something and then just break down and cry. So as an example, hang on one second. So one quote that I, and actually let me kind of preface this. One of the realizations that I came to, and in my research, it supported it, is that people that tend to get in abusive relationships, tend to be the victims of abuse, usually have a history of abuse in their past, and so they don't know what right looks like. They don't know, or there's not an awareness that you don't have to accept it, or you don't, you just don't, because you were never shown. And so how do you know what right looks like? And so one thing that I read early on and was that this is from Don Miguel Ruiz from his book, The Four Agreements, and it's talking about abuse. And it says, in your whole life, nobody has ever abused you more than you have abused yourself. And the limit of your self-abuse is exactly the limit you will tolerate from someone else. If someone abuses you a little more than you abuse yourself, you'll probably walk away from that person. But if someone abuses you a little less than you abuse yourself, you will probably stay in the relationship and tolerate it endlessly. And I read that, and it was like a knife went through my heart, because I've tolerated crap from too many people. And, because it's spiritual, you're being spiritual, but really you're just tolerating a lot of crap.
But you said it too, though. Like, the empaths always they always find each other. They're like magnets. It's like, if there's going to be a narcissist in the room, I'm going to find it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's gonna happen. My late husband, oh my God, you could have written this book about him. Honest to God. Duh. Unbelievable. But, he had to be the center of attention in life and in death, right? His spirit was the same. I'm not kidding. You knew he was there all the time, and he'd bang on things and everything if he wanted to say something, I'm not kidding.
I believe you.
Yeah, okay, but you could have written this book. But it is, and it's like, when you're reading this too, and it's like, oh my goodness, yes, we do fall into those same things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you stop it? And I kept going, well, it's gonna be some point in here, it's gonna tell me how to stop it, and you finally get to it.
Mm-hmm.
We won't get to it now, but
no. Okay.
All right. But yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself either here, because I'm just like,
okay, I have a question before we get any further. I'm the one who has the cat motive. You'll say something and I'll grab onto it. Okay, you said you're not a licensed counselor, but you do counseling. Okay.
Correct.
Do you think that the for all the shit that you went through, excuse me, people, Mom, don't swear, that you went through makes you a better counselor? Because you can tell, people aren't just saying, okay, I'm going to go to you, talk to you, whether it's spiritual, physical, mental, whatever. Everything gets sort of grouped into a counseling session. For me, that's my way. But do you think that all the shit you went through made you a better person of who you are today? to be able to understand what other people are going through
Yeah.
and to say, hey,
Oh,
look,
definitely. I mean, it definitely did, and one of the things but I didn't have tools. See, now
yeah,
at
no.
this point in time in my life, I'm working on, having some tools that I can share with my clients versus just get the hell out of there,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
or whatever that might have been.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
a lot of those tools too. I mean, I'm glad because you brought the metaphysics into it, because it is a personal thing. It's a deep relationship thing. It is a thing that affects our physical and mental state of being. So I love how that you brought that in. Even the whole auric system and grounding and shielding and things, and especially for empaths. And I'm always saying this because people are like, I'm empathic, I can't go out into public. Oh, I can't do, I'm highly empathic, I can't do this. It's like bullshit. Yes, you can. You just got to ground and shield yourself. Okay.
Mhm.
So, because yes, you're going out there and you're absorbing all of that crap from everyone around you. Yes, that's what empaths do. But there is a way to block that. And she goes in depth on how to do it. We tell you how to do it all the time. But yes, in this book, it's in there, and it's a way to protect yourself as an empath, which will help deflect the narcissist too.
Well, I don't know about that part. We're going to get into that because that's a huge topic right there.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. It is.
But kind of coming back with what you're saying, I give tools for people, and depending on how sensitive you are, depending on how aware you are in any given moment, they can work better than not. And I used to say Kreskin because he's part of my story, and I'm like, man, he should give me a nickel every time I say his name. Well, now it needs to be Walmart because everybody that's an empath can relate to Walmart, and so. If you go to Walmart and you're walking to the store and you go, okay, I'm going into Walmart, and you put up all your defenses and you ground and you have a grocery list, because if you don't have a list, you're not buying anything that you went there for. And go in and have your blinders up. You can maybe navigate Walmart and get out of there safely. But if you just walk in there, so we have this place, and I guess they're national, called Buc-ee's. It's like a truck stop thing, but it's huge. They sell food, they sell clothes, they sell like signs and pictures, and I mean it's like this all-in-one little village that is the size of a big department store. I mean, it's huge. Well, we needed gas, huh?
I want one here.
You'd hate it. You'd never go in there. You'd never go in there. But that's where we stopped because I needed to pee and we needed gas, which is why we stopped there. And my boyfriend wanted me to get him something, and I walked in and I did the navigation to the restroom, and it was packed, and there were 20 people in every line. And I couldn't buy anything because I could not get out of that building fast enough. It was just overloading because I wasn't ready. I knew it was going to be busy, but it was like Christmas in there. And if you're an empath and you've gone to the mall at Christmas and it's packed, you know how that is.
Yep. Yeah. Lots of Amazon shopping. Lots of
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that.
Yeah, I do majority of my shopping Amazon because I can't handle it. But I ground twice a day, and my first thing in the morning, when I go to bed at night, I try to get the negative out. You know what I mean? So I can sleep. But
but sometimes people just don't realize, what's going on, and they'll go to some place like Walmart, and then they're just all like, ah! And just recognizing that you've had that experience so that when you leave, you can let it go. Because many times empaths will take that energy on and then think, well, this is me, and this is how I feel. When the reality is that you've just picked up everything that's going on around you, and now you're walking around with it.
Yeah. I saw a cute little short video one time and it really made sense. It was like a little, just a stick figure type thing. But it was the empath going out the house all, skip him a step and everything. And then he meets the first person and they shake hands. And the black starts coming up his arm. And then the next person he meets, the more black starts coming up. And by the end, he's like just covered in sludge, and walking like, oh, just trying to like crawl back home by the time he gets done. And and that's it. That's definitely it. You take on everybody's every emotion, whether it's fear, anxiety, uh, glee. So you can be, people gonna think you're schizo, right? Because you're like, oh yeah, I'm happy as can be, and then the next person you meet is like so depressed and ready to hang themselves, and then you're like, oh man, it's like boom,
Yeah.
and the black cloud, and so you absorb all these things, and you really can ward these things off with the proper grounding and shielding and aura cleaning, chakra clearing, all those things. I mean, it's so important. Meditation, like, she goes through all these things in this book on how to help with all these types of situations, which is wonderful, but it's an easy solution with practice.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
You do have to learn.
And sometimes it's not so easy. I'm just going to be frank. It's like I've been doing this a long time. I know when my space is getting affected, and
get caught off guard.
Sometimes it's like you just can't shake it off, and or you have to come up with like plan B. You can try to ground, and that that works a lot of the times, but sometimes it's just too much. And so for me, plan B for me is I'll go rake leaves, I'll go do gardening, I'll go clean a bathtub, and just kind of burning the energy off just to dispel it. I mean, because that's what is going on, is you're hanging on to it. So what can I do to get rid of this? Go dancing. I used to work at a concert place where they paid us money to go listen to live music. I was all about it. And there were a lot of days, because my kids at that point in time were just, and I'd go and get there in a really cranky mood. But by the time I got home, because I had to like stand there and look at tickets, I was in a great mood because I just danced all night.
Yeah.
One of the things about the video that you were talking about, Gina, if you watch the end of it, I'm not sure if it's the exact same one, but at the end of that video, that person thing gets home and hugs the dog, and all the negative energy goes off and just disappears. And it's a way, again, that's another one of the ways of releasing all that. Ugh.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to put this up from JoJo. Can a person turn into a narcissist after being abused for so many years, even if they are an empath?
No, not really. People that are narcissists are usually, so empaths and narcissists both come to the table with the same situation. There's both, in most cases, been abuse in their lives, one form or another. And so, I was given a presentation to a Lions Club, and I was talking about the 4 selves: self-esteem, self-worth, self-love, and self-care. And so I was sharing with them that they should take time to take care of themselves. I'm thinking this is a healing group. I mean, it's the Lions Club. They do a lot of volunteer work, which is why I picked that topic. And they got mad at me. They had questions and answers, and there were several people that were, well, but that's not what we do. Then we would be taking. And it's okay to have boundaries, and it's okay to take care of yourself. And just because you're taking care of yourself doesn't mean that you're a narcissist.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
It means you have boundaries and you love yourself.
Yeah, boundaries. Boundaries get crossed. I mean, that word is a big word in your book, but that word is a big word for JoJo, whose comment I just had up there. Her boundaries were crossed. She has a boundary issue. We did a reading show a couple weeks ago, and that was the card that was pulled for her. It was about boundaries, you know. And so again, there's that word, Jojo. You got to work on the boundaries between, you know, what's,
You know, and boundaries are something. So boundaries are something that you have to practice having. You know, it's not that you can just say, "Oh, I'm going to have boundaries." You
yeah,
know, and
yeah,
especially if you came from a toxic family, a dysfunctional family, you probably never learned how to have boundaries or what are appropriate boundaries. You know, which is the issue with the narcissist, is that they weren't taught what appropriate boundaries are either. And so it's a learning process. It's a transformation process.
right, right. So okay, so people that,
Okay, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, Gina.
oh shoot, all right, is that any better?
Yeah.
Okay. For people that are just coming in, all right, what we're talking about is empaths and narcissists. Okay, so in a nutshell, just do the textbook. You know, what is an empath?
Okay. So an empath is someone who is open to receiving the energy from the world around them. They tend to be very highly sensitive, you know, so if someone's feeling a certain way, they're going to feel their feelings more in their body than mentally. You know, they're, you know, we were saying that they're psychic sponges. And so they're in tune with slight changes in the subtle energy within a room. And so, you know, one of the examples that I use, and one of the reasons why I think people become empaths, especially if they have a history of early trauma, is you're at home, you know, you're 5 years old and you're la 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 playing with your dolls, whatever, and drunken dad comes in and he's an angry drunk, but you don't know that he's drunk, but you can feel him. And you know, and so now you know, oh, I better pick up all my dolls and maybe go into my room. And so for many, it was a early warning detection system that they embraced in order to take care of themselves and to survive. Um, but with people that are empaths, and especially that come from that dynamic, because you don't have to be, there doesn't have to be trauma to become an empath, but I think the vast majority of people that are more highly sensitive tend to take that route. Um, but many of those individuals, so in that slight subset, you know, they're wounded. You know, they take on the core belief of, technically it's called subjugation. The more common phrase tied to it is that they're people pleasers, you know, and they don't know how to say no. And they're not taught to love themselves. And they're taught that if I take care of you, if I love you, then you will give me the love and affection back that I so desperately desire. And so because of that, they don't learn how to say no. So AKA, they have no boundaries, period. And so that just makes for a not healthy dynamic in someone because they're not taught to value themselves. And so usually there's a lot of self-worth, self-valuing issues going on in those individuals.
Right. So when the narcissist walks in the room, they see you as the welcome doormat.
They see you as a tasty smorgasbord of energy that they can suck up.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So okay. So now we did the textbook of empath. Let's do the textbook
The narcissist. So a person that's a narcissist, I mean, the classic definition is that they lack empathy. I think that many narcissists are also very sensitive. You know, they're sensitive to the world around them, but they only can see the world through their eyes. And so if this bothers them, then it must bother everybody else. So they can't feel the feelings of someone else. They can only feel their feelings, which is just weird. You know, and so they can come off as being very sensitive and being very emotional, but really it's all about their feelings and their emotions. You know, so one of the things is that narcissists, there is certainly a level of inner wounding that happens. Many of them don't learn boundaries when they're young. And so if you think of that child that is having a temper tantrum and the parents are like, no, don't do it. No, don't do it. No, don't do it.
Oh,
and
here.
after a while, they wear them down and give them what they want. You are creating a narcissist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so one of the things is that they're experts at hiding their true selves. And so, all right, narcissists are interested in receiving energy. Okay. And that's called narcissistic supply. You know, so whether it's your attention and affection, your undying love, your subservience, or when it gets into a negative aspect, you fighting with them, you know, or having negative interactions with them. It really doesn't matter because they're getting your energy. They are the ultimate energy vampires or psychic vampires.
Yeah.
And so their goal is to get your energy because they can't create it themselves. They're not able to connect to source. And they're also not really able to ground because if they were able to do that, they'd have
left.
Well, no, they would go inside and have to look at their stuff. And they don't want to. It's too painful for them.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always this. You did this. You did this.
Yep.
Not looking at the mirror doing that. Never.
Well, yeah.
Although
And
they
so,
a lot.
you know, they make what's called a false self, and that's what they project out into the world. And so if you just meet a narcissist, and this is what gets the empaths in trouble, especially the wounded empaths, is when you first meet a narcissist, they are the kindest and most loving and generous and emotional, you know, whatever you need from that person, that's who they are.
Yep. And
they lure you in by basically lying to you because it's not who they are at all. And so, you know, as the relationship develops, and I'm not sure if we're going to go here or not, but as the relationship develops, it's like they can't keep that mask up because it's fake and it takes energy and their real self starts to come out. And so now you're dealing with this person that could be, you know, hostile or abusive or whatever, just really mean or neglectful until they want something.
Yeah.
And then they're like your best buddy. It's like, excuse me, you just bawled my ass out 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And now you're like my best buddy because you want me to go to the store and get you something.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, what the hell is that? You know,
and it can just create a lot of confusion in the person. But the reality is, if you take it down to the bottom line, it's like they're only interested in getting their needs met. And if you put up any kind of resistance or opposition to them, they're going to have a tantrum and they're going to have a hissy fit, you know, or stop talking to you, or, you know, they have a myriad of defense mechanisms that they can employ to try to manipulate you.
Yeah, I'll do the fighting things, you know, start fights, diversion tactics, you know, like, all right, we're talking about this. Nope. You got to divert right off of that and something that you did.
Yep.
No, it's
well,
like,
why do you have a problem with that? It's like, well, I do, you know, but why? It's like, well, wait a minute. Why are you doing this in the first place? You know, because if you weren't doing it, then I wouldn't be having a problem with it.
Exactly.
Can a narcissist not? Can a person who has all those tendencies not realize that they're a narcissist? They just do it out of remote.
That's a great question. So, I mean, I joke around that a narcissist would never read my book. And if they read the book, they would look at all the people around them and go, oh, they're a narcissist. Oh, they're a narcissist. Oh, they're a narcissist. I mean, my late husband, the one that helped to spur on this book, we were in therapy and he told the counselor that I was controlling. You know, and finally, you know, we ended up getting divorced and the counselor leaned in, tapped my leg and said, you're not controlling. I mean, he just controlled and manipulated freaking everything.
Yeah.
But, you know, but I'm sure he would just point out a bunch of other people that were narcissists, you know, and it'd be more because they had boundaries and they said no.
Yeah. My late husband would do that. And then if you didn't listen to him, he would get very loud, you know, because he had such a loud voice. You know, he really was a commanding force when he walked into a room, you know, and he was a really good looking guy, you know, he was. And everybody, all the girls would fall all over him, you know, blue eyes, blonde hair, always in shape. You know, he really was. He was very handsome, you know, but he loved that attention. Well, he loved all attention. And if he wasn't the center of it, he would get louder, you know, whether it was good or bad, you know.
But see, I mean, that sounds more like a overt narcissist, you know, where it's pretty obvious they want attention. You know, my situation of I've always seemed to get stuck with these covert narcissists who tend to walk around on their pity potty, who are always in this woe is me, you know, oh, well, you know, so-and-so ripped me off, even though you find out later that they're the ones that, you know, started the whole situation in the first place. And they're sneakier.
Yep.
You know, they're very unassuming, you know, and they seem humble and they seem different. You know, they're not like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. Exactly. But they get everybody to look at them because of the things that they do, and they get people to feel sorry for them. And it's like, oh, you poor baby, you know, your girlfriend split up with you. Oh
my God. It's crazy. Bob just said, so I'm a narcissist. Well, you might have narcissistic tendencies, Bob. I don't know. He does that. I say to him all the time, because he always puts up those posts, you know, if something bad happens, he puts up cryptic posts. And I hate cryptic posts. And I'm like, always like, what is that about? I don't know what that it's about. So I'm always like, what is it? You know, but no, that's not what we're saying. Mark was definitely that crazy narcissist guy. But he was all of it, though. He really was, you know, and he was one way in public and another way behind the doors, but you never got to know the real him, you know. And then when you did, it was kind of scary, you know. I didn't.
So my late husband,
I wanted to help him. You know what I mean? So it's like.
So my late husband. So I was marriage number 6 for him.
Wow.
Okay, I was number 4 with him, and he was number 6 for me. Or no, I was number 6 for him. He was number 4 for me. And we were married probably a month. And we had lived together for 3 years. And so we got married, and about a month later, and he goes, well, I'm waiting. And I'm like, well, what are you waiting for? And he goes, well, I'm waiting for you to change. And I'm like, what do you mean you're waiting for me to change? He goes, well, it's happened every other time. You know, you go out and then you get married and then poof, you're a completely different person. He goes, so I'm waiting. And I'm like, dude, you know, this is it. You know, you might see me walking around in my sweatpants with bad hair more, but that's it.
Yeah, what you are. But when you get into those relationships, like I never knew what Mark was going to walk through the door when he would come home from work. So you were constantly on eggshells, you know, and that's not a good way to live, you know. No. I mean, when it was great, it was fantastic. It really was, you know, but when it was like that, you know,
it sucks.
Totally.
It totally sucks. Well, and one of the things with the narcissist is you can't talk to them about stuff. You can't talk to them about some issue, you know, like, can you put the toilet seat down? You know, it becomes an issue. And so you end up, you know, so you posted the cover of the book, and I'm going to kind of hold it up here a second, you know, and people are like, wow, you know, why would you sit there and put sewn up lips? You know, and the reason I did that is that if you're the victim of abuse or in a relationship with a narcissist, you end up not speaking your truth. You learn early on to not say anything because it's just easier to not say anything than to say something thinking maybe you're going to get some change. and it never ever happening, and they just go off the deep end.
Yeah. I know a guy totally narcissistic, full of himself and fake feelings to get even more attention. Also, he has the woe is me as well. Well,
Hmm.
you know, it's
Anything to get attention.
yeah, yeah. Bob says, "Oh, no, you
Thanks,
don't.
Bob.
No, you don't." I gotta test that in the shower head. There's lots of things I got a list.
Take a picture next time. See, look.
I
Just
know.
post a picture of the toilet seat up on Facebook and say nothing. Just do that. I love you, Bob.
Too funny. Yeah.
You know, but they,
Darren.
you know, it was interesting when I was doing this research, you know, behaviors that they have, and it's very like, it's a pattern, their behaviors. And I think the part that shocked me the most was that they have words to talk about some of the crazy things that they do. You know, like my favorite one is gaslighting. It's where they do things to make you feel like you're crazy. So, you know, I'll use the toilet seat example. It's like you go to them and say, "Oh, well, you left the toilet seat up." "No, I didn't."
Yeah.
It's like,
No.
dude,
No, it's not it's not a hard thing to say, "Oh, sorry, I won't do it again." You know, it's like you can't ever admit anything, ever.
But they adamantly deny it, and it's like, well, you must have did it. Well, it's kind of like, excuse me, but I don't need to put the toilet seat up, and I'm not going to put the toilet seat up, so why would I do it? And then it turns into this whole giant fight because you obviously put the toilet seat up and just don't remember that you put the toilet seat up. It's like, no. And they kind of make you crazy.
Yeah.
They'll make you
They'll
crazy.
say, "You're crazy.
Mhm.
You're crazy." And it's like, no. No. I just want to make sure this is the right thing I want to read. All right, narcissists, since they are bigger, stronger, and faster than anyone else, they are envious of anyone who could potentially outshine them. Right, that's a big thing. They shirk mundane responsibilities. They do not and will not take responsibility for their part in any given situation, which is what we are just talking about. It's always someone else's fault, and will quickly identify the guilty party. It's like, yeah. I mean that's a direct quote from the book. I mean, people, you gotta get the book. You really do. I mean, if you have any doubts whatsoever that you might be living with a narcissist or have that kind of a relationship pattern going on in your life, then get the book, read
Well,
it.
you know, I think one of the things also that people aren't really aware of is that they don't allow you to have your feelings. You know, and so it's kind of like, okay, but I feel we should put the toilet seat down. And it's kind of like they don't allow, or, you know, it bothers me. Well, what does it bother you? It shouldn't bother you. And so they'll invalidate what you think, what you feel, and leave you in just a bad place all the time.
Yeah. Or take things away from you, or you know, you got to do this and you got to do that. You can't go here, and you can't see this person. You can't talk to that one. You can't, you know what I mean? But they can do all that.
Well, yeah.
You know, it's like, what? No. Ugh.
Well, you know, the guy that I got rid of, he liked hiding stuff.
Yeah, they all do. I think that's just a man thing.
No, it was just a weird thing. It was, you know, it's kind of like I had one shoe go missing.
Oh, weird.
Oh, that's weird. That is weird.
And the shoes were on the stairwell to go up, but they were summer shoes. So it was like, well, do I really want to take them up? Or maybe I'll just leave them downstairs. And one shoe went missing, and it was missing for 6 months. And I knew he put it somewhere because who would take one shoe and move it? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but he didn't do it. And so 6 months later, I found it in a bookcase behind books when I was dusting.
Sorry.
Yeah, you did that.
But and then he goes, "Oh yeah, I must have been answering the door, and I put it there." Which there's the bookcases by the door, but it's like,
why?
Why would you take one shoe to the door?
Have it in your hand anyway. Understand.
Okay, 1 second.
Yes.
Seriously, I need to know that I'm not. It's been bothering working on other things.
I don't understand what that's about.
He needs to know that he's not a narcissist.
No. Well, I
Bob,
think
if you put the toilet seat down, then you're probably not a narcissist. I should put that in the book.
And be honest about it when you do leave it up.
And one of the
Post
things
on
that I
Facebook,
want to,
I left it up, and that's it. And then we'll know that you're okay.
and being a narcissist is equal opportunity. So it's not that men are narcissists and women aren't. Women can be just as narcissistic as men.
And it doesn't have to be a husband and wife, Dean. It can be like brothers and sisters.
My daughter.
Or your friends. I mean, I discovered in all of this, there were friends that I thought were really close to me that were freaking narcissists. And it was like, I didn't figure that out till later.
Yeah. Yeah. More
Anna Maria says, I have fallen for all narcissistic men. My father was.
We are attracted to what we know. We're attracted to what we feel comfortable with.
Right. Well, see, now that's the other thing about this book. That's why I was saying about Dr. Louise. It's her style of book because she dives into all of this. So it goes to the childhood. So what kind of upbringing did you have? If you were brought up with that narcissistic father coming in and that's your everyday life. You don't know any better. This is what you know. So of course you're going to go to that, but once you realize it, that this is not right, I should not be treated like this, that's when the new day begins. That's when the dawn comes.
Ronnie Huff says, mine kept me from reading books and told me I was stupid, and I hid books from the library.
Oh my God.
That makes sense. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
One of the things many people, myself included up until recently, think that they just have really bad luck in relationships, or they're some kind of a narcissist magnet that they're attracting them to them, and really don't want to look at what they're bringing to the table and why they're allowing the situation to happen. And I think really, to me, that's the focus of the book is, why are you letting this happen? And what do I bring to the table? And if this is what I'm bringing to the table, then how can I change it so that I'm not? So I know that this is kind of a metaphysically kind of group, but if you think about it, it's like law of attraction. We attract what we project. And so if we project that we don't value ourselves, then we're going to attract people to us that are more than happy to take advantage of us.
Exactly. Anna, she says, this is why I choose to be alone now. Okay, look, the book has a happy ending. Okay, let me just say that. All right. You can get out of that habit. You can break that cycle. You can have a normal relationship with a normal person. And it is out there. It is there. I'm telling you, just please get the book, and please get the book for someone that, if you know that they're going through this and their life is upside down. It's upside down. It's horrible. It's not a way to live a life. One day I woke up after I became turned into my spiritual side. He always left the toilet. Oh yeah, her ex-husband. Oh my God, he's a piece of work. Oh my God, and he's still doing it, and they're divorced. You know what I mean? And he's still like tormenting her, the poor girl. I don't know. Anna, she says, I don't know how. Get the book, all right, because she will. It kind of goes in there on how to break the patterns. Once you realize it, I mean, seeing it, admitting it, that's step one. There's lots of ways that you can get yourself well. Journaling is a huge thing, and you write a lot about journaling. There's a lot of techniques. There's a lot of tactical ways to go about this that you can physically do and help you, and journaling is huge. I would say start there. Huge. Do your lists. and always have a gratitude list. Why are you happy to be alive today? Okay. But, what do you want in a relationship? What do you feel you deserve? And be you. Be more you than, what do I want? Not what does he want? What is he, none of that. What do I want? What
What
do
do I
I
want?
deserve?
Mm-hmm.
And go from there. Let's see, Tammy again. I came from a father who was an alcoholic and my mom was an enabler. Well, usually, that's the same thing. Narcissist, empath, alcoholic, enabler.
Enabler.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same. They have the same characteristics, the same dynamics.
Right.
But as you go through the process, it's not easy. I had one of the most common feedback that I've gotten from the book is it made me cry. I had one client that got the book and said, I can't keep doing sessions with you because I need to read this book and process through it before we get back together. It was like,
Wow.
well, no, she had some serious issues. She really needed to read it and process it.
Yeah.
And it really is one step at a time, one thing at a time. And I think, having boundaries, well, two things, having boundaries, and identifying this is what works for me and this is what doesn't work for me, and being able to communicate them, and then loving yourself, honoring yourself enough to be able to tell someone this isn't working for me. And because if you can't love yourself enough, then you're just going to allow them to control everything that's going on. And so, Gina, you're going to be like, what? So my biggest challenge in this process, which has been speaking my truth.
Yeah.
And just saying, well, this happened and this is how I feel, or this is what I need,
Right.
And then making that communication and being like, okay, are they going to do it? Maybe they're going to do it, maybe not. And I mean, and it's a practice, and when I first started doing that, deer in headlights, hang on to the furniture, like bracing for impact. That would be the best phrase, bracing for impact. But once you start doing that, it becomes easier and it becomes less scary. Because if that's what you've been doing your whole life, then you just don't even know what it's like to do it some way else and the ramifications of doing it some other way.
Yeah.
Until you try.
And Sharon says, you can't push him down the steps. No,
we can't.
I know, no, we can't.
Sorry, ladies, but it's time for our station break.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
So we're going to do a couple commercials from our sponsor, Bob, and a commercial from Chris Lee. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
The Fox Den is now proudly sponsored by Vortex Ghost Gear, one of the leading fabricators of paranormal equipment. Bob Christopher is the founder and creator of Vortex Ghost Gear. He has decades of investigating, starting with his team at NAPA, and as lead in the popular local TV show Ghost Detectives, he has experience of how spirits could be seen or heard. Using this knowledge, he has manufactured equipment for specific scenarios of spirit manifestation and communication. He is the only manufacturer of the popular lifelike trigger prop cats and dogs. Using proximity meters wired to lights and sound, these prove to be highly effective communication devices in the field of study. The HTO, another Vortex exclusive, allowing specific items to be the highlight or trigger of your investigation. For example, place the item on a metal tray or attach directly to any metal object such as keys or glasses that continue to go missing or moved. Ask the spirit to touch the item. The HTO will light. It has a sound option as well. This device was used in Travel Channel's Ghost Nation with great results. The Dome, a static detector, can be the most useful device in your gear bag. This is to back up the theory that the spirits manifest using static electricity. Using several, you can track a spirit, for example, walking down a hallway, setting off each as it passes. The geophone detects vibrations. This is another way to track movement. If a claim is footsteps in the hallway or stairwell, set the sensitivity and place the device in that area. Its band of lights will show a range of vibrations from the slightest tapping, lighting only a few lights, to the loudest thumping, lighting the entire range. The Easy Scan Ghost Boxes are very popular due to the ease of use. They are custom decorated to the individual or team using them. Bob programs and uses an Arduino-based computer scanning FM waves to potentially communicate with the spirit realm in real time. Every box is unique and all custom hand decorated by Gina Bankston. The V-Pod has a special place for those who love the idea of REM pods. Use this sleeker, smaller, easier to transport device. It is a must-have in your gear bag. Take your investigating to the next level with many of Vortex Ghost Gear's unique and custom creations by Bob Christopher. Visit www.vortexghostgear.com to view all the products and get your equipment today. You can also investigate with Bob and Gina with ghostly excursions, taking people to some of the most haunted locations in the USA. Visit www.ghostlyexcursions.com and join us on our next adventure. Chris Lee is a clinical hypnotherapist specializing in his system of past life therapy, which eliminates people's persistent aches and pains, fears and phobias, and debilitating emotions without prescriptions, medicine, unnecessary operations, nor ongoing therapy. His Life in the Past Lane series of books include Life in the Past Lane, Fears and Phobias, Aches and Pains, and his latest, Crimes Against Humanity, and there are 2 more in the works. They are client true stories and testimonials of how a system works for people. And he also teaches you how to do his system as well. Contact him for more information and or book a Skype session with him. He currently has a special running through the end of June, which is buy 1 book for $10, 2 books for $15, 3 books for $20, or get all 4 books for $25 plus his CD entitled Relaxation Plus, which is a $10 value. You can contact him at www.pastliferap.com or email him at cl@pastliferap.com.
And we're back.
I'm back.
So maybe everybody has calmed down over in the chat room. No. But we are here
It's
with
a good topic. The thing is, this is a topic for me that's needed right now because with everybody sort of stuck at home, they're seeing different sides of their partners, family. So this might be something that somebody's kind of like, hello. So yes, definitely go on over to Amazon and check out her books.
I think she's onto something. I think that's why the people are going crazy on Facebook is because they're lashing out on Facebook because they can't lash out at home because they're going to get in trouble with it.
Oh yes, we got some special people on Facebook.
Very special. We've had some.
This week's been interesting. Okay, Ronnie Huff. I kept dreaming I would kill him in his sleep. He got drunk all the time and beat me up and other awful things, too awful to say. But I survived after 25 years of marriage and divorce. Now that's a question. Why do, and I kind of sort of know the answer, but for those people who are listening who don't, why do people stay? Why don't they leave?
I mean, there's actually a number of different reasons. There is the traditional reason, you get married and you're told that you're supposed to make it work out, and take the good with the bad. And, you think that that's just part of the commitment that you made to this individual. Add in there, you don't really realize that you're being abused, or, it builds over time. It might start, especially if it becomes a physically abusive situation. Might start out as verbal abuse, but then over time it can just become more dangerous. But by that time your lives are a lot more enmeshed. There's something called financial abuse, which I never even heard of, where basically the narcissistic partner controls all the money. And so you get an allowance for food, and you got to buy food for the whole family, and then you get $100 and you got to make it work. And so you have nothing, you have no money to spend. And this is more with women, where, they enjoy the ability to stay at home, and not have to work, and have their husbands have these high paying jobs, and are willing to tolerate it, instead of kind of calling their power back. I mean, because when you're with these individuals, they wear you down and wear you down and wear you down, so that there's just the shell of who you were when you went into that relationship. And it makes it harder for you to just really take that stand and go, I can't do this anymore, and go. But there's also something else that I want to bring up, and it's a topic called trauma bonding, and it's kind of like Stockholm syndrome. And so if you're in one of those kind of relationships, and you were talking about it a little bit earlier, it's like you go through these periods where things are just great and you're getting along really good, and you feel that love and you feel that connection with the person that you're in the relationship with. They probably wanted something, but it feels really good. But then it turns into complete crap, and you are at the depths of your emotional state. And so at one point in time, you have all of this serotonin going on in your body, and that's the high and kids. Yes, Ronnie. But it's the feel good hormone. And then when you're in the depths of yourself, you're releasing cortisol and other things like that give you a lot of anxiety. You're not sleeping, you're jumpy, and it puts you on a hormonal roller coaster. And so there are many people that decide to end the relationship, but then they need a fix. They want a text from their partner just to get that little high to make their world seem right again. So there is a very addictive piece to it. And I read, and actually I think it was on Facebook, people that are in these kind of situations, there really are some great groups on Facebook that are just very supportive for individuals like that. But somebody put something, and I believe it, that breaking an addiction to a toxic person, an abuser, a narcissistic person, however you want to define them, is harder than quitting a heroin addiction. And so you try to leave, and it's not that they act like they hate you. You try to leave, and then they're your best friend, and they're in love with you, and they're going to go to counseling, and everything's going to be great. Just come back, and we'll make it work. And that goes on for maybe a month or so, maybe. And then it's back to crap as usual. Yeah. And, but now you've just reinvested yourself into the relationship.
Right. I know, Tammy, she had a really bad, it was a really bad relationship with him. And, because she is highly empathic. Hugely, and intuitive, and, psychic and all that. And she took it and took it and took it and took it, until she just was done. And then,
But see, that's the phrase, I'm done.
Yeah, all the things that he did, though, now he's going to punish her. This is what I went through with the relationship with this guy, Gary. He took all my stuff. I left. I was done. I lost $70,000. I walked away from it. I'm like, you know what? My sanity, myself, I am more important than that. you know. So I walked away. I don't have problems walking away. I will do it if it gets to that point where I'm done. I'm done. So then
You're
there's
done. But I mean, that's the operative word. I'm done.
yeah,
Those exact words have gone through my head multiple times. It's like, you know what? I'm done. Bye. But
yeah,
when you get to that place, it's like
yeah. It's
you
like
have
the
put
final
up
step.
the ultimate boundary, and they could be as nice as they want, and it's just like, no, you've beyond crossed that line,
Yeah,
and I'm done.
yeah.
Or as it said in that
You've said
quote,
it a million times. You've said it a million times. You tried to talk about it. You tried to do this. You try to do that. None of that. It falls on deaf ears. You don't want to do it,
mm-hmm,
and it's not going to change. Done. Done is the word. For them to
mm-hmm.
you finally say it, and you're done. You're done. You're done, and you're going to leave. It's over.
But internally for the empath or victim or whatever, it's like a switch is flipped.
Mm.
It's not, I'm choosing this, it's done. It is the ultimatum, and doesn't matter what you want, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes it can take a lot of time and a lot of energy to get to that place. Sometimes getting counseling can help you get to that place. To recognize it's like, well, you really don't have to be doing this. You don't need to be tolerating this. You don't need to be putting up with this.
You're
I mean, because trust me, they're not going to go. Or if they go, they will lie to the therapist and make it all be your fault and all your problem.
Yeah, because
Which I've had that happen.
You're controlling.
Yeah,
you can tell.
Oh, I've had other stuff come up. Yeah, and it was just kind of like, really.
I know.
But if somebody says that to you, if you're in counseling and the counselor says, well, but you have this issue going on, it's like there's a part of you that goes, well, I wonder if I really do have this issue and there's any validity to what they say. And it's like, no, you're just a pervert, or whatever,
Right. Yes. Oh, I'm not even going to go into that thing. Right on. Oh my God. Yes. Tammy says she got tired of that shit. Yes.
And then she was done.
Yeah. And now she has and then she was, oh my God, she was like so distraught. And what am I going to do? And he was financially ruining her. But you know what? All of that will pass. And it did. We kept trying to tell her that, things will get better. Things will get better. You're a strong girl. You can get out there. You can do this. And it did. And now she's engaged to a wonderful guy. It's an awesome relationship. She's so happy. They just got a new home together. It's wonderful. It's so good to see her happy. And Tammy, I got to talk to you later, because me and you and Tiffany are going to be doing something at the end of June.
It's a secret.
Yeah, but she has to tell us this like when we're on the air. You and I are not in this. This is like, okay, fine.
I know.
Well, we're going to go.
We'll talk to ourselves.
I just set it up. We're going to go do a little investigate. Urban.
Okay, I'm a little bit far to get up there to investigate. So
yeah, up in New York.
I got my Yankees T-shirt on, just for you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm a Red Sox fan.
Sorry,
Patriots. Really, yeah, no, that's okay. No, most of my friends are from New York, so they like them. I always make fun of them that they have the worst teams.
Actually, I had lunch with a friend of mine that hates the Yankees, so that's why I wore the shirt today, because I haven't seen them in a long time. It's like, let's see, what could I wear that would just really annoy them?
That's
Yankee shirt, yes,
that'll do it. I know. Bob was even saying too when I moved to Pennsylvania, and I'm donning all my Patriots stuff, and he's like, "Oh, but want to walk around with that?" And I'm like, "Why? I'm a masshole in Pennsylvania. I'm gonna wear Patriots."
What are they all, Steelers fans?
Yes. And then we were like our first Super Bowl together was the Steelers and the Patriots.
Mm.
And guess who won?
Patriots.
Yeah. Yay. But we won money though. I mean, it
Love you
was
both.
funny because we could have won more money had the Patriots lost, but I was rooting for the Patriots to win. I'm like, no, I'm good. We won money. That's awesome. I want bragging rights. I want us to win. And that's it. So that was funny. But getting back on topic.
You mean it's not like football talk or fishing talk? You know, I've been getting into these interviews and then we end up talking about fishing. But
he just got a boat. No comment. No, he just got a boat. He loves fishing. I love fishing too, but I don't. I had all the boats, and I'm so done with boats. But he just got a new bass boat, so he's all excited and happy about that. I'll go put on the boat. You know, I might go a little fishing if it's like not really super sunny. I can't be on the sun anymore. You know, so. You know, we're old and we have hormone issues, and I get across my face and from the smudges and hormone pills and stuff. I look like Hitler.
Hey, I was out in the sun for about an hour today. I have a red nose, okay? So
you're still white. Oh, she's so white.
I know, so I'm the whitest thing there is.
Yeah, you and my daughter Jackie, just like little pearls. I'll tell you. See what happened. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. No fishing.
Reel it in.
Okay. Now we did talk about this, but I think we need more to create that happy life, the healthy life. And I want to go more into a few of the other things because I think we really kind of laid in on the narcissist, and what they do to us and what they do to, others and everything. And it's horrible. But yeah, I want to do more of the lighter side. Like, yes, there's a path out of here. There is a way out of here. And I love, because, a lot of our watchers, we're in the metaphysical, paranormal community. And I do love how that you did this, the energetic fields, the auric fields, you have energy protections. You go through lists. I mean, I printed out all kinds of stuff for this show. I'm running out of ink. Bob, I need ink.
Put the toilet seat down and go get the ink, please.
Yeah, go get the ink.
Yeah.
The milk. Don't forget the milk. But you go through too, like the grounding, the protection, and you even go over some stones that you can use. So I would like to talk about those types of things. So let's do energetic protection, and the stones that you listed, like obsidian and amethyst and clear quartz. And how would people use those to help get them?
So, well, actually, can I talk about something first?
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then before we go into that, so one of the things that I find with people that, with people in general, is that they tend to not live in the present. They either live in the future, where they worry, or they live in the past, where they ruminate. So in either case, you have this thing going on inside your head. It's kind of like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And it's kind of like, okay, well, I need to stop thinking about that. But then 5 minutes later, you're back thinking about it and you're talking to someone and now you're talking about it with them, and that energy, that not being in the present moment is what makes you not be happy. And so all of these things really are geared toward what can I do to make me be in the present moment so I can experience life today for my adult healed self versus, I'm the queen ruminator. I mean, I can ruminate for weeks at a time, and I'm going to throw this little bit in there. When you don't live in the present moment, and if you really aren't living in the present moment, especially if you came from a toxic household, that's one of the things that opens the doors for an entity to attach.
Yeah.
Yay. No wonder why I had one. Yay. And so these things, you know, a lot of the things that I talk about are things to help you get untriggered. You know, so there's something that happens, like, so you're in a happy mood, and then you go in the bathroom and that toilet seat is up, and now you're really upset, you know, and you're really upset because you've told your spouse, you know, can you please put the toilet seat down? Can you please put the toilet seat down? But the reality is that growing up, you would sit there and tell what your wants and needs were, and they were unheard. And so that is what's really being triggered by that toilet seat not going up. And so now inside you're like, he hates me, and I'm not ever going to do a damn thing for him again. And you know, I don't know about you, but that's what goes on in my head sometimes, right? A lot. And you know, but in that moment, when you're in that place, you're not present. You're not whole. You're not present. And so a lot of the things that I talk about in there is what can you do to get you back present, to get you untriggered, and get you back into the moment, because this is where you experience the world. This is where the happiness is. Your happiness isn't in your worry in the future, and it isn't in your past. I mean, unless you're like an ex-football high school quarterback, you know, and you're still living glory days. And, you know, and so grounding is a way to reconnect the body to the earth. And so when something happens, when we get triggered, it, from a very energetic perspective, it closes up our first chakra. The first chakra is at the base of the spine. And so it's kind of like our bathtub drain. And so if you put the plug in the drain, then nothing's going to come out. And so, okay, now I was just upset, and that upset can kind of become like a pinball machine, and it's bouncing off of everything else, you know, that your spouse has done, and they bought that stupid thing, and then they didn't give me change for this, and it can start out with a toilet seat and become this whole big thing in your head. You know, but if you can ground, especially once you recognize, like, okay, like I'm upset, it's like you take the stopper out of the bathtub drain and you allow all of that mental crazy to go away.
Yep.
You know, and so that's really the importance of grounding.
But now you were saying too in your book that you were actually kind of making that a chord. So you're
correct.
You're envisioning and you're creating a chord that you can access easily for the next time this happens, that you can get this out. So that was a great part of that book. Great analogy. I loved it.
You know, and so like your bathtub drain, you can imagine or pretend that there is this giant drain kind of coming off of your butt and going down all the way to the center of the planet. And then, you know, you can take that stopper out and just imagine that you're allowing that energy to drain out, that you've just opened it up and it's just going down your body and out of it. And it is very healing and very relaxing. And actually on my webpage, if people are interested, there's, I forget what the actual article is called, but there's an article about grounding, and it actually has a meditation, like a audio meditation on there that they can listen to, and that's on soulhealer.com.
Awesome. But I like that whole thing now too, because we talk about this a lot, you know, about, you know, trying to cleanse yourself, and then this way, that is a big cleanse. That's like super cleanse. That's like having a colonoscopy, that stuff.
Pretty much.
You know, that you drink, poof, gone, right? So you out, you know, get this negative shit out.
Literally.
For a better word. Right? But the thing is, you always got to put something in whenever you need. Void. So you want to bring in positive energy, golden healing light, white light, whatever it is that fills you and makes you happy, you know, and can soothe your soul. That's what you want to bring in. So do not leave a void, because that void will get filled up with what? What you just got rid of.
Other people's yucky energy.
There you go. So
Hmm.
protect yourself. But it's all in here, and she does this step by step in this book too. How to do this very simply. Everybody can do it. Everybody
Yes.
should do it. Whether
And the
you're
links are in the chat room of the Facebook.
whether you're in this type of a relationship or not, everybody needs to do that. Just for yourself.
Well, and I think, especially the healing part, I think most of us don't live in the present moment, and we live based on stories and assumptions and programming that we received when we were young. And so it gives you the opportunity to break that up, and change that dynamic. So even if you are not in one of those relationships, you still have an opportunity to heal. I mean, I don't think there's anyone who has gone through childhood who hasn't experienced some kind of trauma. And I don't mean that they were abused, but I mean, I've worked with clients and, they didn't get the red bicycle they were really hoping for at Christmas, and it traumatized them. I mean, it created a nugget in their life that they weren't really able to move forward from, because it was just something that was so important. Um, you know, you have something critical going on and your parents aren't able to attend and participate. It could be these really small things that can wound you on
Right.
one level or another. It doesn't mean that they have to be mean or evil people, and so everyone has some level of wounding um, that they could use to heal.
I hear you. I mean, that's what makes the world go around. Everyone's different, and everyone's like, I think the more you get battered, I think the more you get, like you were saying earlier, like how much you abuse yourself is how much you'll take, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are so hardened that it's just like whatever. Not even that they're taking it. It's just like it just doesn't phase them. You know what I mean? Like whatever, you can get to that point. I think that's the point right before I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a definitely a multi-phasal type of a thing, but it's quite interesting perspective, like when you were researching to research and to see the differences in the same type of relationships, but the differences, the subtle differences that make them all unique, and you did list all these types of the four selves and the different types of relationships, and then everything from childhood, and the attachment things, and all these things, they all fit together,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they mold who we are,
yeah,
and who we come out on the other end. And, somebody might have had this experience, but not that experience. Somebody might have had some other experience. I mean, like for me, there was never any sexual abuse, and so, you could come from a very loving family and have nurturing and support from your primary caregivers and brothers and sisters, but Uncle Frank abused you, and so you're going to have those scars, even though your family of origin was really great,
right.
and so.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, like in the beginning of the book, you have your story and how you were treated as a child. When I was growing up, my dad would come home from work, and if he walked through the door, we all shut up. We were better pictures, better seen than heard, And if we stood in front of the TV, you make a better door than a window. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All these subtle little things, and it would be like, okay, well, it's time to go. I go over here and I would draw. That's how I would get it. I drew, or I took all his tools and I went outside and built stuff.
Mm-hmm.
you know, so, but you.
So can I respond to Larry here?
Yes,
real
Larry
quick?
Sanchez in the chat room says, really, they didn't get the red fire truck for Christmas when they were 6 years old, and it traumatized them. So that is how this new generation came about.
Actually, it's not this new generation. It's been, from day one. And, I use that as an example because it seems so innocuous. But a child could be so praying and wishing and hoping with every ounce of their being that that's what they're going to get. And they end up feeling like they've been neglected, or not heard or whatever, and it's a 6-year-old, an adult looking at that situation, you have way better ability to cope with it and deal with it and work with it. But a 6-year-old, it's different. It's they're not mature to
but
go on with it.
I think I get where Larry's coming from though, because there's a different group of kids coming up. They're like the entitled crew,
But they are entitled. Okay. So narcissists are based, so empaths, the wounded empaths, usually they're based on that people-pleasing core belief. They have self-worth, core belief issues many times, but that people-pleasing is usually like their big one. Narcissists, on the other hand, are all based on entitlement. Right. And so these days, no child left behind, everybody gets a prize. There's no score in baseball. How can you not have a score in baseball?
Yeah, right.
I mean, they're not taught to compete. And so if you're a loser, you're treated equally. And I know that sounds bad to the person that wins. And so why bother doing anything if you're not rewarded for trying hard? I mean, and this was, my kids are grown, but I remember my son was in it was like an English class or something, and they had to write a report on some topic. And they got a paper that said it had to have like a title and a title page, and then a like table of contents and a list of references. And it had to be like 3 pages long. And I mean, there were like 5 or 6 things that they had to do. And he went down and did the 5 or 6 things. Didn't do more than 3 pages. It had to be minimally 3 pages long. Didn't particularly, in my opinion, research it because he just got everything offline. And he got an A because he did everything on the paper. Oh, it wasn't I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was in school, that was called a C. Exactly. It was average.
My daughter Jax, right? She was asked. She took a course through her bank, sent her to school. At the school, they loved her so much, they asked her to be a teacher's aide. Then when she graduated, they asked her to stay and teach classes, which she is doing. But she's really harsh. I think a little overly harsh. But her thing is, if you're going to take my class, you're going to learn. I am not going to grade you on a scale. I am not going to give you a grade you don't deserve. I mean, we went through, when I was just with her, when I was down in West Virginia, oh my God, I had to listen to her for, I was like, yes, Jax, but you are a little harsh, just saying, right? Because she really is. So she has to learn to lighten up a little bit. However, I see her point, because you see so much of this stuff like, oh, well, I deserve an A because I did all this work. Hey, there you go. All right, but
but the standard has changed.
It's not good work, and it's not the point. It's not what she was looking for,
But it doesn't teach them to excel, and it doesn't teach them to work hard. When I was a kid,
Larry Sanchez, when I was a kid, we often didn't get what we wanted, and we were told tough shit, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, basically that's how.
And so, Larry, there's not any trauma inside of you because of that.
Larry. You've met Larry.
Yeah, dude.
You met Larry at Para Party. I think it was.
Marcy, this is such a great topic. So many people think they can change/fix a narcissist. You cannot, and will sacrifice everything trying. Not worth it.
And I will speak to that very specifically. It's like there isn't anything wrong with a narcissist because they're perfect. And they will tell you just that thing. Sorry. I didn't see you drinking. I knew I was going to get you at some point, because everything they do is perfect. And if, so there is no fixing them because there's not anything wrong. And if there's anything wrong, it's because of you and you did it wrong or you made them do it wrong or whatever. And so it doesn't make any sense wasting your time or energy. And as I said earlier in the show, if you try to point out that they're a narcissist, it's like they'll just turn that around at you. Or if they actually read this book, which I really doubt any narcissist would ever read this book, because it's not really designed to try to heal a narcissist. They would probably give it to someone else and say, here, you need this because I think you're a narcissist. Because I'm not. I'm like this totally cool, emotional person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Dave, in the chat room, we were told
things. Just
we were told you kids have never been without. My parents grew up in the Depression, as did most back then.
Mm-hmm. Well, I grew up poor. We were poor. We were extremely poor, right? There was 5 years later, then came me. I had to make my things, fix things that were stored away for 5 years. Like my bike was a 3-speed bike stuck in third gear with, messed up seat and so hard to pedal. And oh my God.
At least you had gears.
I had. I got it to work and second and third after a while, but the first gear would never work, but I wouldn't use that one anyway, but it doesn't matter. But I had all these hand-me-down things. And then like I said, I grabbed all my dad's tools. I built stuff. I didn't have Barbies. We couldn't afford Barbies. We had little Dawn dolls. Right. So, all my friends were getting like Barbie dream houses. Well, I built one. In my basement. I built a friggin' fortress. I built the ship. I built all those things, so I could play, and that just kind of carried me through what made me, So it's like if you don't have it, make it. I made board games, like you'd go play Clue at someone's house, and it's like, you make a board, and you make little pieces. You know what I mean? Clay, whatever, rope. What's a piece of string, right? This is your rope, right? Candlesticks, you had a
unless you just run up and down the street, which is what I did.
But we were outside. Like I said, we were outside. We were building forts. We were always outside. Kids today will not go outside. Everything is, electronics and this and that, and the poor parents have to work their butts off to afford all that stuff. And then you have to afford to get them to school after that. And that's really, really hard. That's a lot of pressure on parents, you know? And then for them, though, all this pressure on the parents, and then for the schools and all this stuff that you're paying good money for the sports that everybody's getting the damn trophy for, you want that kid to excel. Is that kid going to get a scholarship to school? You know what I mean? Like how most of the football players got scholarships to go to schools because why? Because they excelled, because they did good. They did a good job. You get scholarships, you get acclamations, you get the good accolades when you do a good job. Not for showing up,
I don't know. I might feel my feelings hurt, and I might be traumatized, because you wore a clown costume on Halloween and I got to go to the safe room so I can not be traumatized.
Doris Graham in the chat room. Yep, had lots of those know-it-all people in my life. Everyone else has issues and are wrong, not them. I was married to one, and a son-in-law was one too.
Yep. Hi, Doris. Yes. Yeah. It is. I mean, my late husband was just that in a nutshell. Just crazy. Oh, we're still going on about the bikes. I just use that as my first bike had fixed cog. The pedals wouldn't stop until the bike did. Well, yeah. There was no relaxing. You always had to pedal on mine too. It didn't have that, thing.
Why? Isn't that what you do on bikes? Is pedal?
Well, no. Like you can on the different speeds. If you're coasting, you can just kind of hold your feet on the pedals, and it will.
Well, see, I didn't have speeds. I just had like a one speed.
The chain on the thing.
With foot brakes.
Yeah. Going backwards. Yeah. Well, I didn't have. I had that one bike that did have the stupid brake on the top, but it didn't work. It was broken. So I had my friend Candy. She's a little tiny thing, and she was riding on the handlebars, and we were driving down to the beach. They just the campground beach, like a lake, right? So we're coming down a huge hill, and I don't have brakes. I'm trying to put my feet down. Stop. She's on the handlebars, sit down. I'm like, whoops. Go through the gate, and as soon as we hit the sand, of course, the bike goes woof, and then she goes off, tumble, tumble, tumble. And here's the really sad part.
That she's going to admit, however many years later,
she's tumbling. Where does she end up? Is right next to a kid was there swimming, and he had a prosthetic leg, and the leg was on the ground. And she looked over, and she goes, "Oh my God, my leg!" I was like, "That's not your leg." Oh, sorry. All right, but that just
no, that's good. That's a good one.
That was so funny. I'm like, it's not your leg, kid. It's okay. Oh no, it would have been hilarious. No, we didn't have videos back then.
In the day.
Years ago. Oh my God. No phones. We didn't have any phones.
No cell phones.
No.
Dial the rotary phone. I love watching kids do that.
Yeah, we had to, turn the knob on the TV. We finally got one that had the
click with the rabbit ears.
Do the 3 channels. Yeah. But anyway, okay, so shiny balls and Blake's aside. What could be, all right, I am going to reel it back in. What would be, all right, say a person is just a younger person even. What would be a red flag? I mean, if an empath, they know they're an empath. They know that they have these feelings that they can sponge off of everybody. So they, most people that are empaths know they're empaths. But what would be a red flag to warn them about the oncoming narcissist?
So one of the things is, are they trying to move things along too fast? Are they the end all and be all of people? Now, it could be that person is really into you, but they might not. And so I think, giving it time, giving the relationship space. Once you're in the relationship, are you happy? Are you giving them all of your energy? Is there an equal exchange of energy? Is there a dynamic that's happening between the two of you? Because, if you're a people pleaser, you're happy to give. And if you're a narcissist, you are more than happy to take any little bit that person is going to give, So if, like one of the ones I was with, it's like, I like to cook. So I would normally cook dinner, and he would tell me he was going to do the dishes, but then the next morning they would still be there. And in the afternoon they would still be there. And I can't do that. I can't just have dishes sit in the sink for days.
Nope.
And so then I'd end up doing the dishes,
Or they just do their dish.
He did that too. He put it in the dishwasher.
The other day.
Yeah, he would do that too. And then would tell me, his last girlfriend never did the dishes. And, so I just would do mine and just leave the rest. And it's like, okay, but I just cooked dinner and you're not really cooking. And when you're cooking, I do clean the dishes. So.
Yeah.
Where's that exchange?
No, it's with my shoe that's behind the books in the bookcase.
That is so messed up.
Larry Sanchez, I gotta go get up early. Everybody's gotta go and get up early tomorrow. Have a random drug test tomorrow.
I guess it can't be too random if you know about it.
I know. That's what I was gonna say. How can it be random if they're telling you?
Bye, Larry.
Bye.
Bye, sweetheart.
Oh my God. All right, you're not going to say.
That's why I quit my boss. That's why I quit my job. My bosses were narcissistic.
Well, yeah, that's hard to work for a narcissist too. That's the other thing with my late husband Mark. I mean, he was a boss. I'm a boss. I was a boss, but
she still is. She bosses me around all the time.
You tell me what to do. Are you kidding? Oh my God, she's worse than me. I do it
with a smile, and I'm so cute.
Yeah, I might do a little more of an accent. Do this. But no, but his poor people that work for him, I don't even know why they would, and they all loved him and adored him, and oh, he's wonderful and everything else because they paid him well. It's like, yeah, okay, but the way he treated him, holy crap.
Larry said he knew last week, so they told him ahead of time so he could pass.
Oh, the whole week. Oh, you had to be good for a whole week, Larry. Oh, you poor thing. And Marcy, ego feeders. Yes.
They're total ego feeders.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, I mean, that concept of narcissistic supply where they just want, to feed off of you.
Empire.
Exactly. And sometimes when you recognize you're in that situation, it's like you can just make that choice. It's like, well, I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to let you feed off of me. I am not going to give you my energy, which is really what they want, is for you to give them your energy.
Yeah. And then you can always know too, like, when you finally start realizing this in a relationship and you stop kind of giving that, then you see them getting that distance thing. They were already off working on the next victim.
Yep.
So like they won't leave. Like if you kick them out, they won't leave, unless they have a place to go. So they'll have that lined up first,
Well, that's if they're ready to move on,
Yeah, or if they see it coming.
Yeah, or they see it coming, but if they don't have, so like the guy that I got rid of, he was living here. He was already back on dating sites looking. He hadn't posted anything, but was looking. I kicked him out and took all of his stuff, threw it on the back porch. But then the police said, oh, this is something I have to say. If you have somebody that's living with you, whether it's a boyfriend or not, or girlfriend or not, and you decide you want to kick them out, whether they're narcissistic or whatever's going on, and their mail comes to your house, they've lived at your house for an extended period of time, they have a key to your house, you can't kick them out. Unless there's some form of domestic violence that you can get a restraining order, which have very specific criteria. That is their residence, and you cannot kick them out. You have to serve them and evict them.
Wow.
I learned that one.
Wow.
So,
well, that would be really a kick in the ass if they were going to do that.
Well, in my situation, I just finished restoring. I mean, I'm not done, but a major amount of this house. My sweat and blood, not his sweat and blood, my sweat and blood has gone into it. And the police were like, well, you can't kick him out. You have to let him in the house. So then I woke up and there was rat poison in the coffee pot. Fortunately, I don't drink coffee, but there was a rat poison thing in there. And I just locked him out on the porch. It's enclosed. There was a bathroom. You're in the house. That's as far as I'm letting you in.
Well, rat poison, that's violence. That's
murder. Police didn't care. Went down to the police, took pictures, and he said, well, if you're in fear for your life, you should just move out. And I'm like, I'm not going to let him stay in my house. I'm sitting there crying. It's like, I have been working on this house for years. He has no say. He hasn't done anything. He's bought groceries. That's been his, and mowed the lawn, And they were like, nope, that's his residence, and you can't kick him out. You have to serve him. And if he doesn't leave after you serve him, which in Texas, it's 3 days, after 3 days, you can start eviction proceedings, and that can take up to a month.
Wow.
If they choose not to leave.
That's an ass.
Well, and I think it's something that needs to be put out there because I was shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked.
Yeah, that's not right.
Mm-mm.
Not at all. I don't like that. Jesus. But you have, what time we got here? All right, we get down like 10 minutes. Okay. But you have had a good outcome of this. You did get him out.
Yes.
And you did find you healed. You did all these things.
Well, I did all those things.
Healing, I should say.
And I also, and I'm just going to say it this way, it's like I kind of have really big balls. And so I will just put myself out there. And I was like, okay, so you're working on boundaries, you're working on this, but what I'm talking about is my relationship space. I mean, my work life and my personal life is great. It's my relationship space that's a piece of crap.
Right.
And so I was like, and the only way you're really going to be able to practice any of this stuff is to test it. So I started dating, and I met this great guy, and but even with that, obviously, we have our ups and downs.
That wall up there too, right?
But there are things that happen, and I have to stop and go, did he do something, or am I just reacting to something? And it was pathetic because, all right, I felt pathetic because there had been so much. I mean, this is how bad it's been. There's been so much trauma in my life that I found myself bawling on I have a screen porch, so I was sitting out there, just sitting outside, bawling because he was nice to me.
Wow.
And so he has put me through so many paces that has caused me to stop and look and stop and change, and so when you're talking about changing your relationship, just hiding and not getting involved isn't the full thing. Now you're just hiding and you're living in a state of fear. And so there's a certain percent where you need to be willing to re-engage, if you want to have someone in your life. And I like having someone in my life. I like that part. I don't like the yucky part. I don't like the days where I get triggered for something really dumb,
Right.
But
right. Yeah, everyone says, well, everyone brings baggage into a relationship. Yeah. I mean, it's been said, it's hard to leave those things when you've been hurt, and the thing, hurt people, all the time. So once that happens, that scar is there, whether you rip that Band-Aid off or not, it's still there. It's still prevalent, and the triggers, you never know what's going to trigger that. And you're right back in that moment.
But when you're with someone and you're in a healthy relationship, they become safe, and you can sit there and it's like, okay, well, I might go off this emotional roller coaster because you didn't put the toilet seat down. And, but then it's like, but he's still there and he makes this safe, he's my safe spot, and it gives me the opportunity it is hard to trust again, Doris. It is hugely hard. I mean, and trust me, I love this man. I know he has my back. And there are days that something will happen. And I'm just like, well, maybe he really is a narcissist. Maybe he's just like a bunch of bullshit. He's just telling me this stuff and he doesn't really mean it. Trust me. Been there, done that a bunch of times. But there have been more days than bad days. Like a lot more good days than bad days. And if there's something that happens and I say, hey, babe, you left the toilet seat up, he'll say, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Wow. That is like,
I know. It's amazing, and so, but that's what you can experience, so it's kind of like, so this is me. Okay, I'm going to go say something about the toilet seat. Babe, you left the toilet seat up,
I know.
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh, I'm sorry, but the phone rang, so I just walked out of the room and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, shit happens. I mean, it does, but it's like, it's not life or death. It's not like threatening. It just, it's not going to kill you to admit something. it is.
Well, but if you're a narcissist, you would.
Well, I guess it is.
But if you're in a relationship with someone that's healthy, and you're having a healthy dynamic, then you can talk about things and you can negotiate things. You can figure out how that dynamic is going to work and have it be good for both of you versus good for them and really sucky for you, which is how it usually ends up being.
Note to self, put the damn toilet seat down. Well, if you watch Dr. Oz, everybody would actually close the lid when they flush the toilet, because if you really watch Dr. Oz, he says on one of his shows about the toilets, when you flush it, there is a mist that comes out of the toilet that goes 6 feet in all directions. Where's your toothbrush? Is it within 6 feet of the toilet?
Yeah, you know how I
put the whole lid down.
I cured my husband of the toilet seat thing, and actually he cured himself. One night he forgot to put the toilet seat down, and he got up to go to the bathroom and didn't turn the lights on.
Oh, see, yeah, there's nothing worse.
Sure, there you go.
Worse. You know, that irritates me. But great show, ladies. Have a good night. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good night, Dave. Thank you very much.
Down to, I'm trying to figure out where is it. 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes. Yes. This was a great subject, and again, I just have to say that out of the years that I've known you and how professional you are, and having you on for the various books and movies and everything and interviews, I never knew this part of you, and it is a very humanizing book. It's really amazing that you put this out there. That took a lot.
90
like you said, you got big balls, right? You do to put out a book like this, and thank God. And I do hope, people, seriously, that you would get this for yourself, for your friends, for your family members that are in this kind of a relationship, anyone that you think that needs it, because trust me, when you read it, you'll understand why I'm saying you really need to get it, because it covers everything, and there's a good outcome. There can be a good outcome. Okay, all right, 60 seconds. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you. If people want to get it, they can get it on my webpage, soulhealer.com, or if they'd like to schedule an appointment for a session with me, soulhealer.com. But it's also available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all those major book distributors.
Yeah, please check her out on Facebook and all the other things, and Instagram, Instagram.
Twitter.
Okay.
And I couldn't find it, so the link's not in the chat. Sorry for that one.
Well, we'll put it in the chat.
We'll put it in after.
All right. Well, anyway, we'll see you all next week. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
A couple minutes. We'll be right back. All right. Ciao, guys.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode of The Fox Den. We would love it if you would go over to our YouTube channel, which is The Fox Den, hosted by Gina Bankston. Please like and subscribe our channel and join us in the chat room there while we stream live every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you next week. Good night.